Welcome to the Overland Sea podcast. Today we are talking about the Brentford away game. Andrew, you guessed the score right again. I think is that two on the bounce.
I
Yeah,
can remember.
might not be two on the
Was it two
bounce.
on the
Maybe got
bounce?
one before the
No,
Leeds game. I'm not
I can't
sure.
remember too many right.
2-2, which was your prediction.
Desmond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling about that result since you
It's
predicted
not
it?
the result I wanted. Just that's what I thought was going to happen because I don't think we can. We don't look like keeping a clean sheet.
No, no, we don't.
So yeah, I was just hoping that we got two, and I thought we might concede two, and we did. So it be what it be, and it is what it is.
But I mean, were you surprised that we conceded two, considering we still had three at the back and effectively five at the back when defending?
I'm surprised that we conceded that many goals with five at the back. It's worrying that even with five at the back, we still concede two goals. Not admittedly going in when I predicted it, I thought we were going to be playing four at the back, and I think Brentford are a team that like to press, and I think they let us off in the first half. They didn't really, they weren't really at it, and I think the commentary said that, and I think,
They
um,
showed that as well in the second half.
yeah, in the second half it was like playing a completely different team. I do think the first goal that they scored was sloppy from Disasi. I don't know why. He should have cleared it, and it looks like he's trying to leave it for the goalkeeper. But he's made up for it with a goal later on, let's say. And the second goal was, for me, a high foot. I just don't think you can do it. No, it was ridiculous. It was a ridiculously good goal.
I mean, he tried one earlier.
Yeah. And I think that's one where like maybe get closer to him in that instance. And at that point, you probably just need to throw your head as close to his foot as you can to try and get a high foot one. But it was a
Well,
great goal.
no one picked him up, and as soon as he sort of like got in the position, Trevor was the only one to actually put pressure on him. Everyone else just sort of stood and watched.
We
But yeah,
like, we
no,
like the old stand there and watch.
huh?
We like the old stand there and watch.
Oh yeah, it's working wonders for us at the moment.
We're really good at it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Um, what did you? Well, I mean, I thought the subs that came on in Sterling and Mudryk made a difference. I like the impact. Normally, Mudryk and sometimes Sterling, to be fair, struggled to come on as a sub and really get into the game. I didn't think Sterling was that good in the game before. I was a bit surprised with the substitutions that came off, if I'm brutally honest, in that Levi Colwill came off and so did Enzo. I know Disasi, I know you've already said it, I know Disasi got the goal, but I thought he should have been subbed. Um, and yeah, I was surprised that Enzo came off. Shock, I know, but I thought Caicedo should have been subbed. Having said that, though, when Enzo went off, I actually thought Caicedo put in a proper shift. So I don't know whether it's because he prefers working with Connor. I don't know, but I actually thought he came alive a bit more in that after those substitutions.
I've said it once and I'll say it until I go blue in the face. I don't think Enzo works hard enough defensively to play in that double pivot.
No,
I
I
don't
agree.
think
He's not a defensive player. He's not.
no, and I'm struggling now to find out where he fits because I think something in his game needs to change. I think he's packed on a lot of weight and he's probably not the wiry, quick player that not weight in the wrong way. He just seems to have muscled up massively. And I'm not sure that's helped his game. I think he's slowed down a little bit. I don't think it's around the park as much. Um, and I think, yeah, defensively he doesn't help us enough in that double pivot. So it it does feel like if he plays well and he's putting a lot of effort, we play well as a team. And I think that's because if he plays well, it means that Caicedo looks a hell of a lot better because he's not trying to do two people's jobs. I think Connor generally looks better because his pressing actually is more fruitful.
Yeah, yep, yep.
And I think that's generally when we've played better is when Enzo is more defensively minded and sacrifices himself more for the team and focuses more on what he can do with the ball with his passing rather than trying to get forward.
There's a part of me that actually thinks that maybe we should be playing a flat three. I mean, it doesn't help Connor with the pressing, but in terms of, I think that would actually bring more balance to the midfield. But before we go into that more, it's funny you should talk about Enzo in that way because I actually read an article. Oh, was it an article? Was it just a post? I can't remember. Might have been an article. Someone talking about how as good as he is on the ball and as talented he is on the ball, he needs to be more agile. Like he doesn't get around the pitch quick enough. You know,
Mm.
he's too slow for the league at the moment, which I thought was actually valid because we've said that before. You know, he's only just really been able to start playing 90 minutes properly. But there is a lack in his game on the defensive side. And as I said a few weeks ago, like I have this horrible feeling that maybe Caicedo and Enzo are not the partnership that a lot of people thought they would be. I didn't think they were going to be the right partnership from the beginning, but I have to admit, I didn't think it would be Enzo that a lot of people would be questioning.
Yeah, I don't. I just don't see how he fits. I think in the Prem, you can get away with being either a Bernardo Silva slight one that can hit the ball around and or you can get away with being someone that's like an SCM build that's big and strong but still gets around the park and like muscle
Bison.
people off it. At the minute, he seems to be trying to be a middle ground where I don't think he's that strong that he can muscle everyone off the ball, and I don't think he's not agile and quick either. So something's just not right with him at the minute in terms of he needs to make a decision as to what he needs to be, like what he wants to be. And I think unless that decision is either he slims down and becomes more skillful, or he sacrifices himself for the team and doesn't try and get forward as much. I think it's him getting forward and leaving us exposed at the back, and also lacking creativity in that midfield that causes problems. When he goes forward, it crunches everyone up further forward. I don't think he has adds much. And other than the goal against Palace, it's not like he's getting loads and loads of goals. He is better when he is further back and picks a pass like he did to Connor in the season. He's not someone that I want late arriving in the box.
No, I agree with that. And actually, as you were talking about that, it was really interesting because I remember watching footage of him playing for Benfica, and that's exactly what he did. He used to push up and he used to be able to play the balls that he wanted to play to certain positions, and he was always like just around the edge of the box. But I think Benfica A play a different formation and B they play a completely different league to us. Um, and they had a lot more time on the ball when he was able to do that. You don't get time on the ball in the Premiership, and if you do get time on the ball in the Premiership, it usually means that there is absolutely no one free and no room available to actually throw the ball through to. Um, I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, I agree with everything that you said, which pains me, but it's there black and white. Thing is, though, with Caicedo, I still think there's things missing from his game as well. Um, a lot of commentators are now saying like he looked a lot more comfortable on the ball for Brighton, and I have to agree. I've thought that since the moment he pulled on a Chelsea shirt, to be honest. And even then, sometimes even with the defending, he did some great tackles against Brentford. But even then, there are sometimes I just feel like he's not in the right position, and he's lunging into a tackle from an angle that he really shouldn't be lunging into. Don't get me wrong, we have spoken about him being getting the ball and them being hospital passes. Completely agree. You can't hold him for that, but there have been certain situations where I feel like he could have held the ball up a bit better. But if the ball's going loose and it's obvious where the ball's going to go because we're constantly trying to play from the back, and there has to be opportunities or times for players to clock on and realize we can't be playing from the back right now, then that will happen, and that could happen to absolutely anybody. I mean, I remember it happened to Jorginho an awful lot. Um, but that would happen to Connor. It would happen to Enzo. It would happen to absolutely anybody in that position. What were the positives for you from this game?
Um, I think that we managed to find an extra gear after we went down. We managed to pick ourselves back up again because I thought start of the second half we were out of the game. We weren't. I mean, really in it. They were first to every ball, closing us down constantly, and we couldn't really get out and play. And it might have been the subs and the tactical change, but we did manage to pick ourselves up, which is something that we've struggled to do at times.
Oh, absolutely.
Outside that, there's not a lot. It was quite a bland game, really. There wasn't anyone that massively stood out to me throughout the game, other than the ones that usually have good games, like Balagusto did all right. I don't think Petrovic could have done much for either of the goals, but there wasn't anyone that really changed my opinion of them drastically.
Yeah, again, I was a little bit disappointed but from Chilwell in certain places again. Um, I mean, I go back to Mudryk and Sterling. I was really impressed with what they tried to do when they came on. And, Mudryk got us a nice little free kick just outside the area. Um, they were very direct. They wanted to get forward. They made good runs. Which is exactly what you want from subs, and I feel like we've been lacking that sometimes in games. I think I'm more, don't know what the word is or how to say it, but more happy or relieved about Mudryk just because of he's had that really big dodgy spell. He had a
Mm.
good game against Leeds, and as we said before, him coming off the bench, he just doesn't really seem to work. But he played up the middle again, and he looked good again. He looked like he wanted it. He looked like he knew what he was doing, which for me, I think was the biggest positive because I was just like, hopefully he can keep that run going, and it does. It just gives us another option, and I
Mm.
just really, really hope he can finish this season strong because I think everyone needs it. Everyone will benefit from that, especially him more than anybody else. Um, can you see us playing three at the back again? Do you think? Do you think this is just a one-off because they like to play three at the back and their pressing game plus the height? They had a big height difference. They like the long throw-ins, not as decent or as penetrative as Stoke were back in the day, but they do use that tactic.
Um, I don't know really. If I'm honest, it's surprising that we picked Brentford of all teams to go far at the back, but it might be something that we're trying at the minute because 4-2-3-1 hasn't generally been working consistently for us. Maybe it's something we'll give a go and we'll try and have a couple of formations, keep teams guessing a little bit as to what works and what doesn't. Um, and I think he quite likes that kind of formation.
What, five at the back, you mean?
Yeah, maybe it's not really like a five at the back, but I just go back to the start of the season when we were playing three centre backs with one of like Cole will playing left back, and offensively it felt like we were trying to set up similar to how we set up with the five at the back. We get the three centre backs to stay back, but then effectively
Yeah,
your
yeah.
wing go forward. And it felt like that's kind of how we were trying to play at the start of the season offensively. But I don't know. I think our main problem is we've got a squad of players. We don't have a team.
No, massively, and
Difficult to you. There's whatever you do. I think you're putting a round peg in a square hole, and it's whoever sacrifices, and it just doesn't seem to work.
I agree. I mean, if anything, the fact that you had the wing backs, the full backs higher up the pitch, I'm actually now a little bit more confused that we struggled so much in the midfield again because there should be more outlets and more support. That for me, I think is the worrying thing more than anything from that. Um, I still think we played the three centre backs at the back beginning of the season because Chilwell was injured. I think if
Mm.
Chilwell isn't injured, I think he's playing and you wouldn't have that. Um, and then I lost my last point. But no, that's it. Going well, I was just thinking before you said your last bit was the biggest and the most worrying thing for me at the moment is like the homegrown players that are being tipped to leave because of this financial fair play. They're the ones that seem really up for it for me.
Mm.
Trevor, everyone thought Trevor was done. And I think he's come in and I think he's done pretty well so far. I don't know whether Disasi just struggled because it's a back three and he's not used to that, or whether it was just him having a Disasi game like he did in the beginning of the season. Um, or it was just a blip. But Trevor and Connor and Colwill seem to be the ones that are really up for it. Colwill was getting pissed off at certain points. I was like turning around to the team like, "What are you doing?" and like shouting at them and pointing and trying to get them to move into different places. Trevor's doing that now. Connor doesn't get uptight that much, which is fair enough. But again, he's leading by example, and I think he has done all season. I think he's more of that put your arm around somebody and just give them a little, it's okay kind of talk, which you
Mm.
need balance. But that for me is the most worrying thing. I actually feel, and Frank LeBoeuf came out and said it as well. He's been singing Connor's praises. And he said you can't sell him because he's like the heart of this team. And I think with Reece as well, the fact that we've missed Reece because Reece does that as well,
Mm.
and he is actually the club captain.
Yeah.
But that's really worrying me at the moment, just in the terms of the players that we could lose and actually completely losing sort of what the heart of our club has become. It's the last remaining. It's the last remaining bit of the Abramovich era, really. Um. So yeah, I'll tell you what. What about a 4-3-3 but with a false nine?
Who's your false nine?
Well, technically, you could say a false nine. I say false nine in terms of maybe putting Mudryk there.
Mm.
That's a bit further forward than he may like, but I still think he could do a job by dropping back a little bit.
Right.
Um, and then also I think with the front players that we've got, they can all pretty much interchange. You know, if you throw in Nkuku, Jackson, Mudryk, Noni, Sterling, and Palmer, they could all move around that front three. It wouldn't have to be a solid front three. And I think that would give a bit more balance to the three that we've got. I just don't know whether that creates a too big of a gap for us from between midfield and the attackers. But if a couple of them drop back a little bit, it says counter attack. I think that's what no Real Madrid are playing like a 4-2-1-2, I believe, at the moment. But yeah, I don't know. Speaking of formations, I just think maybe a flat three might work for the three that we have as a collective. But and we still have options at the top. We just might lose the press.
Well, that's the thing, and I think when we've won games, it's because we've pressed well
Yeah.
and we've got a couple of goals out of the press. Yeah,
But
it's
you're
not an
not
easy
going to
thing
win.
to
But you're
manage
not
at
going
the
to win
minute.
games if you keep conceding. You've got to score, but also I think we're conceding far too many,
We are.
especially when we're not guaranteed to score. At the moment, we are guaranteed to potentially score, and we are guaranteed to let a goal in. I feel.
Mm. Well, I'm hoping that we get a set piece coach in that is worth his salt and we stop conceding quite so many from set pieces. Because I do feel we concede far too many from set pieces. And to be honest,
Let's be
I
a set
think,
piece specialist. Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I think, to be honest, where we concede far too many goals is we concede far too many from us making stupid mistakes.
Yeah, oh yeah, outside the box. Yeah.
Yeah, which I think isn't formational. That's or who it's just players individually making mistakes for one to an unacceptable level. Two is potentially players not being where they should be to receive a pass, or three, sometimes you just can't play out from the back and you've just got to kick it long. And for some reason, we keep making the decision. And you see sometimes Poch on the sideline trying to get them to kick it long and they don't kick it long. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
I mean, it's good that Poch is doing that, don't get me wrong. But surely, I mean, surely in the tactical briefings, the tactical meetings, they've got to be talking about situations where it's like, this is how we're going to line up from a goal kick. And if you've then got the attacking players in these positions, you are not playing from the back, surely. And but then there should be also, it means that these areas or these people should be a bit freer. Like,
Yeah. And either that message isn't happening or players aren't working that out. Like they're in a position and they're not realizing what they should be doing. Don't know.
well, that's just game management to me, and that comes from experience. And as we said before, we don't have experience. Again, it brings me on to a great point where, for the life of me, I cannot remember which player said it. It was a former player of ours. It could have been Frank LeBoeuf again. I don't know, but he was talking about not having enough. Whoever it was talking about not having enough senior players, like experienced players,
Mm.
and then the other one was buying not because he says whoever it was like you got to give Poch a chance because he said like we haven't bought well. They blame the owners, and I was like yeah fair because he said how have we let Maddison go for 40-45 mil to Spurs?
Mm.
Have we then also let James Ward-Prowse go to West Ham for 40 mil, 35 mil?
Mm.
Especially as you know you're talking about set pieces. I mean, he's not a defensive set piece expert, of course, but he is a set piece expert. He's probably the best set piece taker in the league. Maybe De Bruyne.
Mm.
De Bruyne, I think, has got a wider game, but from a dead ball, you can't find much better than James Ward-Prowse, whether it's a corner
De
or a free.
Bruyne is shit at pens, so I'm giving it more proud.
There you go. But I think his open play is better than Prowse's, is what I'm saying.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
then again, that's why you signed Maddison. But yeah, you know, I just think
Madison's another injury prone one though.
he is. I will. So is Ward-Prowse, I think. To be fair, now you say it, but they've got the experience at least.
I don't think Madison does.
What Maddison has got experience.
Yeah, experience of getting relegated maybe. Other than that, what else? Both of them experience of getting relegated.
True. He has won a cup though.
What cup was that?
FA Cup.
True.
Beat us in the final, didn't they?
Yeah. I
I
don't think he was fit though, was he?
don't know. I mean, there was a couple other things I wanted to say compared to from the other 2 points, but I can't remember what they were now. Yeah, tough game. At the end of the day, we didn't. I don't think we punished them enough in the first half. I think Jackson should have buried his first opportunity.
Yeah. I
I
think
think
we should have scored late on as well. Potts says we should have scored late on, and I agree with him.
to be honest,
I think
I don't think the first half should have ended the way that it did, and that is just due to us not taking our chances again. I'm not gonna say it was because of bad luck or because of this or whatever. We were not at it, and we didn't take our chances again. Or
yeah.
been a bit more positive
Yeah.
the first half.
That for me is the main point why we can't keep blaming managers. We are creating chances, we're not taking them. And I
Yeah,
think to a certain extent, that's just where the players have to hold their hands up and go, we're fucking up here.
but also I think
It's not
but
one manager either. It's been like three managers where,
true, but it's a different set of players compared to the last sets.
yeah,
But I think the board this time round have to take some responsibility. I really do.
yeah.
So I mean, who have we got next? Is it Newcastle? Am I right in saying it's Newcastle on Monday?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching this positive episode of the Overland Sea podcast. Um, as always, please like, share, subscribe, follow, comment below. And please watch out for the pre-game analysis for Newcastle on Monday night. Thank you all for watching.